Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will be taking you through grammar prediction for KCSE 2022. And it's important that I give a disclaimer that whatever prediction that is here on my YouTube channel is not preempting anything that will form part of the final examinations. But this is just a revision series. Let's begin from part A. And the first question is that the prices of the items were not dash, in bracket, negotiate. So from the context, we are expected to insert the adjective for the verb negotiate, which is negotiable. So the prices of the items were not negotiable, and the spelling is there on the board. Question 2, the students were quite dash to the new teacher. The verb in bracket is receive. So the adjective that is derived from the verb receive is receptive. So the students were quite receptive to the new teacher. Question 3, the case received a just verdict because the judge is dash. So in bracket, corrupt. So from the context, it shows that the adjective that we should have at the blank space is that suggesting that the judge cannot be corrupted, and for that matter, whatever verdict that the judge arrives at is just. So the adjective at the blank space is incorruptible. If the unjust verdict was received or the verdict was not just, then the answer would be corruptible. But the just verdict was arrived at because the judge is incorruptible or cannot be corrupted. Question 4, the students' dash of staying in school to going home for half term was welcome. So in bracket we have the word prefer. So the noun that is derived from the verb prefer is preference, and the spelling is here on the board as you are able to see. Question B, we are expected to fill in the blanks with the most appropriate prepositions. And question 1, we danced dash to the rhythm of the drums. So the preposition there is we danced to the rhythm of the drums. Question 2, I have placed the coffee table dash the shade of the tree. The appropriate preposition is I have placed the coffee table under the shade of the tree. Question 3, the thief dashed the house when he saw the police officers. So the thief dashed into the house when he saw the police officers. But C, the instruction is the candidate is expected to fill in the blank spaces using phrasal verbs beginning from the verbs given in brackets. In question 1, we surely cannot dash such insults. Under the bracket there is the verb put. So a probable word would be we surely cannot tolerate such insults. And tolerate the phrasal verb beginning with the verb put is put up with. So the answer, we surely cannot put up with such insults. Question 2, the captain dashed his crew throughout the trial back. And the probable word that we could use is the captain supported or defended the crew, his crew throughout the trial. So the probable phrasal verb would be the captain backed. The captain backed up his crew throughout the trial. Question 3, students have to work very hard to dash for lost time. So the implied word there would be that students have to work very hard to compensate for lost time. So the probable phrasal verb that we can use beginning with make is make up. So students have to work very hard to make up for lost time. Question D, the candidate is expected on D1 to begin to connect the two sentences using a participial phrase. And the question is, I had seen the photographs. That is one sentence. The other sentence, I had no desire to go there. So beginning with the participial phrase or combining the sentence using a participial phrase, we would have having seen the photographs, comma, because the participial phrase normally acts as a subordinate clause. So between the participial phrase, which is a subordinate clause, where it is separated from the main clause, there is a comma. So having seen the photographs, I had no desire to go there. Part 2, John hardly ever studies. Supply a question tag. So hardly ever suggests a negativity. And for that matter, we normally know that when a sentence is in negative, then the tag is going to be in positive. So hardly ever suggests negativity, and for that matter, the tag is going to be in positive. And again, we normally use auxiliary verbs to come up with the question tags. Like, for instance, we could say, he is coming. So we are likely to begin our tag using is and refer back to the subject. Because he is coming is positive, then we are going to have the tag in negative. So we will have isn't he. But in an event that we do not have an auxiliary verb, like in this case, we now introduce the verb to do. So in this case, John hardly ever studies, because it is in simple present tense. We will use the verb to do, which is in simple present tense, and taking into consideration that John is also the third person singular, now we are going to use the form does. So the answer will be does he, taking into consideration that hardly ever has already negated the sentence. So the tag is going to be in positive. Does he? As you provide the various question tags, remember that between the tag and the sentence given, there should be a comma. After the comma, the first letter of the tag is going to be a small letter. Then finally, there should be a question mark at the end. So those three things are what are required to score on question tags. Comma, separating the tag from the rest of the sentence, then small letter that begins the tag, then finally the question mark at the end. In E, the candidate is expected to rewrite the sentence using the instructions given in brackets. So question 1, E1, as soon as the students completed the exams, they returned all the books to the library. So you are to begin with no sooner. So the answer, no sooner had the students completed the exams than they returned all the books to the library. E2, if you invite him, he will come to the party. So the question is testing on conditional clauses. And the conditional clause here is if you invite him, and the main clause, he will come to the party. So the candidate is expected to rewrite using unless. So one thing that we need to know is that when unless begins a conditional clause, then it suggests negativity, and always there should be a negative aspect on the main clause. So the answer, unless you invite him, he will not come to the party. There are some instances that is worth noting that candidates can mess up on, where not could not be used on the main clause because it is already negative. So we can have an example like, unless the leaders preach peace, comma, the country will experience instability. So there is always temptation in most candidates that we have always been told that when unless is used on the conditional clause, then it goes without saying that the main clause must have not. So the answer will be, unless the leaders preach peace, the country will not experience instability. So in such case, the instability already carries the part of the negativity, so you don't have to negate it. So the correct answer would be, unless our leaders preach peace, the country will experience instability, or the country will not be stable. Question 3, E3, my class teacher intervened. That is one sentence. Another sentence, I was not sent home. The candidate is expected to combine these sentences into one using but for. So the answer, but for my class teacher's intervention, I would have not been sent home. But for my class teacher's intervention, I would have not been sent home. Something worth noting in E2 and E3 is that after the clauses, there is a comma that separates the clause from the main clause. Like in E2, unless you invite him, is a conditional clause which is also a subordinate clause, and it is dependent on the main clause. So when we begin with the subordinate clause, there is always a comma separating them from the main clause. And that is again what happens in E3. Without those commas, then the answers are null and void. Viewers, if you like the content here, allow me to kindly request you to hit on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that anytime we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. Again, to my subscribers, I continue to thank you very much. Until next time.